So, LeBron James, second year in the league, jumps from 20 points per game or 21 points per game to 27 point, what is it? 27 point what? It's basically 27, 7, and 7, which is his career average. So he's been at his career average essentially since his second year in the league. And it hasn't really changed.
You want to know what was a funny stat?
Like,
he's averaged that for his career, but he's never had a single game where he had 27, 7, and 7.
Really?
Yeah, that was a pretty funny stat.
I didn't know that. That's interesting. That's weird.
Like ESPN posted that.
How long ago? Was that like this week or something?
It was like, I want to say like a month or two ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hope that'll be hilarious if he had it in the last month. If I find it in the last month, I'll tell you. I'll tell you. It'll be on.
I'm pretty sure he has it.
But
it's weird.
But LeBron James this season, and this was, I don't know how much hype this was getting in the moment, but when I realized that it jumped off the page to me. So he's top 10 in like a billion categories, right?
Yeah.
He's top 3 in points. He's, let's see, basically top 5 in assists, number 6, top 10 in assists. I'm pretty sure he's not anywhere near this in rebounding, but almost in the top 25 in rebounding. Let's see, free throws made, 11th, so he's just outside. He's doing everything. Field goals, 2nd. Percentage is still bad. Like, this is the era of inefficiency, FYI.
Yeah.
We went into this when we were talking about Kobe's legacy breakdown. Like, his
but I think like
efficiency is not being
like after his Heat years, he started like being extremely efficient.
Yeah, well, that's basically how the league shifts.
Yeah.
And you'll see it with the other stars around. Like, look at Iverson, 42%, 30 points a game.
Yeah.
Like, efficiency, Tracy McGrady, 43%, 25 points. Like, efficiency is not respected.
Yeah.
Steals, 3rd in steals. Like,
the only thing,
the stat sheet stuff.
The only thing with the efficiency thing,
very early.
I honestly do feel like with efficiency at that point, it was because of the way the game was played, and it was like they allowed a little more still at this point. Like, so you can't just like, there was more hand checking and shit like that.
Maybe. I don't know if I agree with that, but it's just, I feel
they
like
literally had brawls.
I just don't think.
Isn't this the Malice of the Palace year?
I just think, yeah, but that's the exception, not the rule. Oh yeah, because there's tons of fans fighting with players at every game.
Oh yeah, okay. But I'm saying like it got to that point because of how physical the game was. Like between round,
right? It was definitely an era of tough defenses and slow pace, right?
Yeah, and
that I can understand what you're saying. That definitely leads to inefficiency.
Yeah, like imagine trying to shoot a shot and you getting hit all the time and you don't know when you're gonna get hit. Like it, and they're not calling it. Like it's like, okay, I'm letting this slide for the most part. Like,
but I don't think either one of us are necessarily wrong. But I think it's definitely a combo of the two. Like, it's not one for sure over the other. Because I think it's a combo of the guys today are definitely more skilled at shooting.
I agree with that 100%.
Like Kevin Durant is still shooting 50% in a previous, just because of his ability to shoot the ball.
I don't know about that. I'm not saying you think he has the same averages?
I mean, if Larry Bird could do it with less athleticism, I think Kevin Durant, who's longer and just as skilled shooting, could do it.
I can see that argument.
Once I know that it's happened previously with less skill, like Larry Bird's one of the most skilled guys of that era. But today he would just be a skilled guy. Like, And we talked about that when we were doing the time machine stuff.
Okay, so but Kevin Durant is a unicorn. But who else we talking about? Like, do you think?
I don't know. Why do you always do this? You always do this. I want 17 names on the spot.
But I'm like, Kevin Durant is like, I think he's one of the greatest small forwards ever. Like, I just can't, like, I think if you go to like Steph Curry is like a completely different conversation.
I'm just saying, if you put Kevin Durant, the only way I could see Kevin Durant shooting less than 50% if he is put in a position like Allen Iverson was put in, where he's just by himself.
Yeah. When you have all that,
yeah. Like I'm not necessarily hating on these guys for being inefficient. Like I said, it's the era of inefficiency, but it does like.
But I think the reason for people, you saying it's the era of inefficiency is like saying these guys were less efficient guys. I think the way that they were playing
definitively
was very,
There's no.
I think Kobe averages 50%. He shoots 50% from the field in this league this year.
Maybe, but
like the way that they play.
But maybe he focuses more on shooting. Who knows? I don't know. Like he was already.
I think that you
focusing on the deep range. So like,
they don't let them play defense to me. Like that's my.
I think that's an easy way out. I think that's an easy way out of an argument.
Like the physicality, like.
You're not giving any credit to the guys who are really good at offense, like, and that also matters.
But
like
the rules are allowing them to do things that other players couldn't do in that era. Like that's what's happening. Like now you're making the defender have to feel like I can't do this, I can't do that. Like
I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm arguing with you because you're saying I'm wrong. That's annoying. Like fuck that. Fucking, I'm not saying that the defense wasn't better back then. But to say that these guys aren't in an era where volume shooting is king,
but when you say that someone is inefficient, it makes it
hero
seem
ball
like
is part of the culture, is it not? At this point, it definitely is. Hero ball, the idea of shooting your way through slumps and putting a team on your back single-handedly is huge in this era. There's one big star to almost every team, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Like. I'm running through the list. Very few people, especially once you got Shaq in Miami, very few people have more than one star on their team. Like,
I can see that.
And that's why I think that all.
So but my whole thing, you're telling me that's the kind of argument that I could definitely understand, because it's like, all right, the whole construct of the whole team is completely different. But when you're saying that these players are inefficient, is like. To me, it's like saying, like, I don't think Kobe would be inefficient in this era. I think AI would shoot way better in this era. Like,
ooh, that's the one. That's the one. When we do his legacy breakdown, that's going to be really interesting, because that all depends on his teammates, in my opinion, and it depends on a million other things. But LeBron, what did he get in MVP voting? He got 6th in MVP voting because the Cavs finished 9th. In the division. Or in the East, right? So they're still not winning a lot of games behind LeBron's stat sheet stuffing. He's just still figuring it out.
Yeah. I mean, he also has pure ass on his team, so it's not like
that's what I was scrolling down to, was to see who else. At least he's got he's got somebody over 15, almost 2 guys.
Yeah.
Progress.
That's fucking Ilgauskas, like. No one gave a fuck about him.
How many points do you think Ilgauskas is getting off a LeBron assist?
Oh, guaranteed 100%, 14 points. 14 points. Like, I remember, probably not 14, obviously. I'm bugging, but it's probably like 10 for sure. Because LeBron and him I think he used to annoy the fuck out of me.
You know what I wanted to see? Where is LeBron in terms of hitting threes? Like, Kobe's at this point shooting 2 or 3. The 3-pointer is starting to become in vogue. It's not going to be what it is today, but like, people aren't nearly as afraid to shoot it as they were in like the 90s and the 80s. Mm-hmm. So he's already taking 4 threes a game, and this would plague the beginning of his career. The fact that he was a poor shooter.
So, but history would say that LeBron is actually like a really good 3-point shooter because I mean he's like big on the um all time three. I think he's like top 10 or 15 or some shit like that on
I mean,
all
he's
time
shooting.
3-point
This
when
is
he's made.
this is the stuff that I find interesting. So Giannis Antetokounmpo is the him and Ben Simmons, but Ben Simmons is a totally different thing than Giannis. Giannis is the most criticized player for his shooting in the NBA right now, and LeBron is going to be at the Giannis point where Giannis is today. LeBron is at that point, and I think the
In
reason,
terms of what his three, the way he shoots threes,
yeah, look, the numbers are identical in terms
he's
of
nah. Brown is shooting
1.4 to 3.9, right?
Brown is shooting like is 7% higher than he is. Like he's shooting,
Oh
he's
man,
he's shooting efficient, huh?
keep going.
And he's shooting more efficient in terms of that. And then it was also a non 3-point shooting era, and he was shooting four threes.
But the 3-pointer is obviously. I just got done saying the 3-pointer is in vogue. Like people are look at there are people taking threes. Like it's not going to be what it's going to be in 2020, but
Yeah, that's what I'm
it's
saying.
interesting to see that LeBron was criticized for his shooting for being like. I think this like if I saw this without knowing anything, I would say this is okay from three. Like I wouldn't, you know what I mean?
But he wasn't. I don't think he not at this point he wasn't. My bad. I thought you were going. My bad. I thought you were going back to Giannis and saying that they were the same or something, and I don't understand why Giannis gets criticized. I was jumping the gun. Sorry, but huh?
I was I was like sitting here defending myself. I was like,
Yeah, I was thinking you were going to Giannis about. I don't think he would because
I'm
it
bringing
wasn't
this
his.
up because he's the comparison to today. This is 20 years ago. Are you aware of this? This is basically 20 years ago, closer to 15, but like fucking
Yeah, but he wasn't criticized on his 3-point shooting like that. It was more so his
kid who was
inability to
born this year is in
consistently.
high school right now.
That what happened?
A kid who was born this year is in high school. Is a sophomore in high school, at least.
Crazy.
That's what I'm trying to say. Like, so I'm trying to give the kids a comparison
Okay.
because I think LeBron was the guy when I was a kid that I remember on TV being like, he can't shoot enough. He's not good enough at he's not efficient enough.
But he wasn't a consistent. He didn't make.
If he was a shooter, he'd be unguardable. He'd be the most unguardable player. It's exactly the same.
Could we go down? Don't they have more advanced stats? Because I want to see what his shooting was like from based on how far he was away from the basket. Because right now he's shooting 50% from 2% from 2-pointers. But I'm curious to see how much of that is like long jumpers and what his percentages are there. Because that was the biggest issue with him was his inability to consistently make a mid-range shot, and he wasn't super consistent from three either.
Yeah. Oh, here we go.
When it mattered.
So field goal percentage.
Okay, so look, he was shooting like most of it.
32%
It was at the rim.
for mid range.
Huh?
32% for mid range.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's where
we need to keep track of this as he goes through his career because there's no way he's shooting 32%.
Yeah, no. You see him get better, and I promise you, it's going to be towards 2012, 2013. I guarantee that's going to be when it's like he starts getting a jump shot.
But I wanted to make a big deal about it because people will make like criticism on him in the era will be he can't shoot or why isn't he shooting or if it's either his jump shot isn't good enough or he's passing out of a game-winning shot.
Yeah, fact.
That'll be the two biggest criticisms in this first.
That's the shit that stat you see like a stat. The stat would have showed you like someone would have looked at that normal stat and been like, he should have 50% from 2-pointers. He's making his shots, and then but you have to like go into the nitty gritty to like see exactly because you weren't there. If you weren't there watching each of his games, you wouldn't know that. You'd just be like, "What are you talking about? He's making, he's doing great from 2-pointers or whatever."
Yeah, it's the benefit of the ones when we're doing these legacy breakdowns, of doing the ones within this time frame or the modern era or closer to the modern era, because they have so much more stats.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
That's a fact.
stats tell a much better story the more you have of them.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's a stat breaking down another stat, pretty much.
Yeah.
That's why. It's pretty
But the last thing I wanted to say about LeBron from this period of time before we move into his run to his first finals is, was there anybody that matched him athletically besides Michael Jordan when he got to this point? Like Vince Carter,
Yeah,
right?
Vince Carter.
Dominique Wilkins.
Athletically, yeah.
And
Not
then
in terms of pure skill and
no.
like,
We're taking
just
skill.
straight up athletics.
Raw athletic specimen.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, so probably Vince, MJ, Dominique. I'm just naming dunk contest people. Fucking Wilt, and then
Kobe. Kobe was athletic as fuck at
was
this
he
point. This is when
considered
he
one
was
of the most
dunking on
athletic?
people.
I know people like, especially at that time. You know what? At that time, I could see that
He was dunking on people. He dunked on Ben Wallace. Like,
no, I agree.
Yeah,
I had to think about it. I was like, 03, 04, I could see it. I'd say by the end of his career, I don't know if
2009. That's why, like, especially when you watch those games, you're like, oh, he's athletic, but nothing crazy. But then when you look at when he was younger, it was just like he was dunking on everybody.
When he had that spin dunk on fucking Garnett on the baseline.
He did. That was I think around this year is when they do that famous pass where it's like dumb deep and then he like catches it, dribbles it behind his back.
Kobe's in the middle of that mad scoring stretch.
Yeah,
that he's doing right now. They're gonna have a good matchup.
Tracy McGrady at this point was super athletic.
Yeah, but outside of that, like, that's what made him immediately jump into those guys. Because once he had the stats, people were already wowed, like with Zion.
Oh yeah, exactly.
The Zion effect. He was the original guy like that.
Yeah.
And again, he's had this all on his back since he was like going through puberty.
Yeah. And bro, in 2007, people were thinking like he was like the best player. Like, people like like my friends would argue with me saying like LeBron was way better than Kobe. And in 07, like that was like so I could, like, that means like he was just building, like he was building it from here, you know what I mean? Like,
essentially,
you don't just randomly like just that year and everybody's just jumping on your shit, especially with him, like the way he was playing. So people were really starting.
You're seeing a lot of the highlights here. You could get 27 points the way Steph got it, or you can get 27 points the way LeBron got it.
Yeah, exactly.
And it'll be two completely different stories.
Yeah, exactly. What do you think is more fun to watch, though?
Me personally?
Yeah.
Damn. I just didn't
Steph's MVP season, bro. That was the one.
I didn't like LeBron as a kid. I didn't like LeBron as a kid. And I felt like when Steph Curry came on the television that I was on it. Like, I was old enough to be like, that's a guy. I'd watch enough basketball to be like, I know what I'm looking at. Like, when he faced the Spurs in 2010, we talked about that in our breakout moment, and on the map moment rather. And
that's the only thing I ever gave Josh credit for in basketball was knowing about the Warriors before it happened. He was a psycho
because he was my roommate. But that's goes without saying. Fucking, I remember because I was watching the Spurs series right next to him.
Oh yeah.
But I'm sure he'll deny that. He's sitting there angry about it right now. And this is not getting cut out. So
probably not
watching. That's what you think. I just think this sets the stage nicely for what we're about to do. And I really thought that the jump from first year to second year is like very substantial. To go from 21 to 27 is a whole strategy. Is like, and
we talked about who did we just talk about that with the Boston boy. What's his name?
Larry Bird.
Huh?
Larry Bird.
No, not Larry Bird.
Jason
We
Tatum.
just talked about it in like yesterday.
Jason
With
Tatum.
Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown going from
Jaylen
20
Brown.
points to 26 points. Like that was a
Right.
huge
You're
jump for
exactly
him.
right.
Like that's when you were looking at like, oh, you're a superstar. Like
So I brought up
27, 7 and 7. You're a superstar.
Okay, so this is actually perfect. So we brought up the jump that Jaylen Brown had. You see that he's
Mhm.
getting hyped this year, right? We saw. I brought up the ferocity of Giannis. We saw how he got hyped, right?
Yeah.
And the hype train, like not just Giannis, but a Zion also. You know.
Yep.
And you're combining these factors all into. Then when you combine the fact that he's got prodigy on him, like
Yep. Yep.
it's
He
this
was the most
combo of
looked
like
at kid. Like
this dude was the biggest draw that people had seen. This is why unfortunately this is the reason why Kobe gets disrespected at times, in my opinion. And it's not necessarily because Kobe Bryant wasn't box office, because I think he was, but it's that if LeBron comes around in 07 and Kobe gets that 35 point per game season by himself with no LeBron James existing,
yeah.
I think it's a whole. I feel like all those eyeballs that were split between LeBron and Kobe go on Kobe, and I think his career's looked at slightly different for that reason. And I think that's
time out. You got to remember this year.
I think that's why people were riding LeBron's dick early with LeBron Kobe conversations, is because of that box office quality.
I think LeBron. I don't think it affected Kobe. The only reason I'm saying that is because Kobe at this point.
Oh, it didn't affect his game.
No, I mean affected his the way that he was viewed, because at this point, Kobe was he was averaging more points than Shaq at this point, and they went to the NBA Finals. So more eyes are being looked at this point. It's like in football. I know Lindsay doesn't like when we do this, but in football, Patrick Mahomes is looking like he's way better than Deshaun Watson, because you didn't get to see Deshaun Watson in the playoffs. Like Kobe, you watching him the whole way through. Like at this point, Kobe's name is still like up there. Like LeBron is just building his name. I don't think he disrespected Kobe in any way, but I feel like he's just building his name. And then by the time he went to the 07 championship, that's what made people like really start looking at him like that, where you could compare the two.
Yeah.
That's